Okay, guys. So I'm joined this evening by Luetin. Luetin? That's me. I'm joined by myself, Levelcap, joined by DCRU Colin, and also we've got rivaLxfactor is here as well. We're going to be discussing a number of topics this evening that we've each brought. We're having a bit of a round table discussion, as I have done on many other evenings, having these late night discussions. So I think I'm going to start off with Colin's topic. So Colin, what did you want to bring to this one this evening?
Wow, you're jumping right to that one. I wanted to talk about the business models that have been kind of put out there by game publishers because there's been a bit of backlash in the last couple of days following the announcement that there's going to be a premium edition of Battlefield now on sale, which is going to include the game and a free membership to Battlefield Premium, which will come with all the expansion packs. And that, I think, is at a price point of $70, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So, folks that have paid 110, they're now quite concerned about this. They feel that they've been ripped off. But, I wanted to talk about the fact that gaming and game publishing is a business. And, is this really wrong? You have a number of different models on the table. You have this where, you release the AAA title, you release the expansion packs, and then, once you get a ways down the road, they're going to put together some sweetheart deal to try and get more people to buy into it. You also have like the free-to-play model, which is out there right now, and kind of everything in between. So a lot of people are upset about this. I see it as good business. Interest starts to wane in the game, and you lower the prices. You try and get people that otherwise might not have bought in to give the game a try. And you also have to realize, we have Medal of Honor Warfighter coming out in a couple of months, not to mention probably another Call of Duty title, whatever the case may be. So there's going to be some fierce competition to grab hold of people's entertainment dollars. So is it a bad tactic? Personally, I don't think so. But the hardcore fans that have been bought into the game since day one, they're going to feel alienated.
I think I'm going to jump in here first and just say that I really have no issue with this. I don't quite understand where people are coming from thinking about it. They obviously haven't quite thought it through. But for me, when you think about it, any product that goes out there into the marketplace, when it goes out, originally, it will always have a premium price attached. Think about when the PlayStation was first released. It was extremely expensive, and then over time they decrease it because some people have already bought it and they need to appeal to those people who haven't, so they will lower the price as they go along. And this is no different. I mean, you have paid more for the privilege of having it before other people and having it for longer. So in my from my point of view, you've already got more out of it. Whenever something new comes out, look at loads of, any device, okay? You could have portable devices like the PS Vita and stuff like that, or the Nintendo DS's and things like this. All these things, when they come out, they're very, very expensive. You know that over time, the price will drop off. And most people, you would know by now that DLCs and stuff like this, over time, they will change the deal and make it cheaper. But people have made a choice to buy into it early, and in doing so, they get the privilege, just in the same way that by buying premium in the first place, it gives you access to things early. That's what you're buying from it. So I really don't see that people are getting a bad deal here. I just see that, as you say, it's business, and I really don't have an issue with it. And I don't have an issue with companies trying to make money like this in the first place. I mean, they are a business, just deal with it. Level, have you got anything on this one?
No, I agree with what both of you guys said, and it is smart business. I mean, if they release the whole thing, Battlefield 3 and Premium, which means basically everything you can possibly get with the game for $70, it's going to grab all those people who are on the fence about getting Battlefield 3 in the first place and actually make them players. So you're building your player base, you're making more money. And yeah, I'm fine with the fact that I've spent over $100 on Battlefield and then Premium, and I guess back to Karkand also, because that wasn't initially part of Premium. I'm okay with the amount I spent because I got early access. I got to play it when it was super popular and everybody was all into it. Now that it's waning a little, I totally agree with the reduced price point.
Okay, and if we just go to Rival, just to get an opinion, then we can talk about the free-to-play and stuff. But Rival, with these price changes, what's your thoughts about that?
My thought is it's good business, and it justifies a current buy now, because just like every car you drive, even property values, they're losing value every single day.
Yeah.
Games lose property value or value based on new titles being released and trying to stay competitive, and just like you guys all said, lure current players who can't afford all the previous value. Okay, right? Because it's a reduced product. What I think people should be more upset about is, you know, kind of the way premium has been laid out, and say, you know, DICE says, okay, we'll give you all this great value, but we need money up front, but we're going to kind of abandon the current game and what's wrong with it and do patches every 5 months.
Yeah, that's a very good point to make. And Colin, you know, when you're talking about free to play, do you want to just talk a little bit about that and how you think it fits in or maybe stacks up against the model for Battlefield right now?
Well, I think that you have kind of some common ground. You have some elements that will coincide, if you will, because with some of the DLCs that you buy, you get new weapons. So, you know, people complain, I don't want to pay the extra $15, but I want, these people are going to have an advantage. They have new weapons. And I think I put the remark out there in the chat before we went live that even if Battlefield 3 had been a free-to-play and the starting guns that you got were like the M16, the M4A1, whatever the best support weapon is, and, you know, whatever the best recon weapon is, goes to show you how much I play support and recon, people would still complain because you can pay microtransactions to unlock new weapons and that sort of thing, even though really, is it an advantage? You know, if the M16 and the M4A1 were your starting weapons, no, not really. But with free to play, you know, you can pay absolutely nothing. However, there's an old Rat song from I think it's the 80s or 90s. Nobody rides for free. These games don't get made for free. Nothing happens for free. So unless they can somehow entice people to drop some coin on these titles, whether that be a free-to-play where you buy weapons, you buy camos, you buy unlocks, buy whatever, or you know, something like Battlefield 3 that starts out at a premium price point, and they keep on lowering that price point as time goes on to sort of make up for the depreciation in value of a new title to keep people coming on board. Nobody rides for free, and they're in it to make money. I have an issue if they are out to make money with a crappy product, but I don't think they are. And so, you know, I'm willing to hear opinions on sort of the AAA title pricing model versus the free to play, because you know I think that both have advantages and disadvantages,
I think
like
both,
everything else.
Yeah, I think they're both totally just, you know, they're just different versions of the same thing. You can do it whichever way you want. I did read a few articles recently that said that actual free-to-play models were actually making more money because people love to be able to buy and customize and do all those little bits and pieces. So it may be interesting to see whether some titles go forward. I mean, I've read that Black Ops 2 is going to have a lot of customization and loads of slots that you can do stuff with. I mean, but COD is always an interesting one because it's been one that they never really had that whole thing of bringing in new weapons as they've gone along, or even the ability that, you know, for example, with Battlefield, we've had the case, if you think back to some other Battlefield titles in the Bad Company series, there were some specific guns that you could only get initially, and then after that you couldn't get them. So there was some people running around with these, you know, these singular guns that no one else could have, and that obviously some people would really hate that fact. But I mean, it's an interesting one, the idea that a major title could go to free to play and then give these customization abilities that people could actually pick and choose really, really specific things. There is obviously the other model that comes in, which is a subscription model. When you think about, you know, a lot of MMOs run with a subscription model. I have to say, from my own personal experience, you know, people know I played WoW for ages, and I was obviously subscribed to that for the whole time. But I'll tell you one reason why I really don't like it was that when you have a subscription, you generally would have an account, and that is kind of controlled through the company or developer or whoever it is that you're playing with. And they will control your account by means of your subscription. So you don't technically kind of own it as such. I mean, I know you can still get banned or whatever if you did something bad in Battlefield, but it was a little bit different. And when I was playing WoW, one day my account got banned for no reason at all. And I was like, what the hell? Because, you know, as people know the way I play, I'm quite a sort of honourable player. So I was really confused. I sent a few emails through to them, and they basically gave me copy and paste replies, and they were just like, we consider the matter closed. And I was like, this is an account that I've spent 3 years playing for, building up, and you've just cut me out. Then 2 months down the line after that, they came back and said, oh, it was an error, human error, big mistake, really sorry, and they gave me like 3 months free playing for it. But at that moment it kind of shook me and thought, wow, all this time, I've put all this money into it, and they have basically had full control of me to cut me out at any point, and I could have lost everything that I built up. And I think at that point I decided I would never play subscription models again for that reason. Whereas at least with Battlefield, you've kind of had a one-time fee and anything else you put into it for that reason. But let's just go back to Rival. Where are you thinking with this stuff?
I played WoW as well. I got suckered into that with a bunch of other Rival guys through a game called PlanetSide 1, which was subscription based as well. Well, PlanetSide 2 is going to be free to play because what happened is when WoW came out, they were one of the first big companies to make subscription models work. I mean, on a massive scale. They have 12 million players, 13 million players. You take that and multiply it by $14, $15 a month. That's a lot of money. They made it work. But through the years, that model just didn't pan out for people. So the free-to-play came around, and I don't know who first launched a free-to-play model, but it's the new thing. And in corporate, the way these corporations work, if somebody makes a ton of money doing something, everybody else is going to copy. Okay, because they don't want to take the time to innovate. There's very few innovators in the gaming industry, but those who do innovate it, everybody else copies. So, I like the free-to-play model. I also like paying big bucks for the title out the gate, like a Battlefield series, but I don't like subscription models. I just don't like it.
Yeah, I have to say, I don't think I would go back to it as well. But I know you're really interested in PlanetSide, so what's your thoughts about free-to-play and how it's going to work? Because I know you're going to sort of move towards that area, so this is bound to be kind of a strong one for you.
There was I was watching a Matt Higbee interview. I think he's the lead designer on PlanetSide 2. And he actually brought up an interesting subject about free-to-play that wasn't just the idea that people are going to spend more money necessarily just on buying little trinkets than they would through a subscription model. He was talking about when you release expansions or big content releases that actually cost a chunk of money, like your average $40 expansion price or maybe a $30 expansion price. He's talking about dividing the player base. And so with Battlefield and stuff, Back to Karkin comes out, and say there's some people that are still like Battlefield, but they don't have the money for it, or they're not really that interested in spending the money for this. All of a sudden, now you're taking the player base and you're putting them into two groups, the people who have Back to Karkin and the people who don't. So now all of a sudden there's servers that run old maps and new maps, and the old players can't play on those ones because whenever it goes to a new map, they get cut out of there. And they're talking about how that's actually really detrimental to a player base and can actually kill the game in itself, because you're coming out with all these new expansions for Battlefield, and if they didn't do the premium release, where if they're each individually sold, by the time we got around to the last ones, you get very few players buying them because they would feel less inclined because they wouldn't have all the ones on the way there. It would be harder to join servers and stuff like that.
Here's the math on Battlefield 3, and what Levelcap is saying is there's division along every extra expansion, right? Here's the math. Battlefield 3 across platforms has sold, 15, 16 million copies, right? Something in there.
Okay.
The last tweet I saw about Premium, they'd sold 800,000 copies.
Yeah, I saw that.
So you talk about a massive division. And Levelcap and I have a server where we play with the community members, and one of the most common messages that I get on my YouTube page or in the email is, "Hey, X Factor, can you change the server to vanilla for this week? Because I can't join you, and I'd love to join Levelcap and you. Or can you change it? I can't do Back to Karkin, or I could do Back to Karkin, but I can't do the close quarters. Can you help us out?"
Yeah,
that's heartbreaking.
I get that all the time as well with mine. It's exactly the same thing. I get people constantly requesting vanilla maps. I did a close quarters weekend, and it was it was well populated. I had a full server for most of the time. But it was the same thing. Lots of people suddenly saying, "I can't get on your server this weekend. Please, when are you going to put it back to vanilla?" So I think it's a well-known thing. And when I was talking to Ty Kelly, who I've done a few interviews with, and he's quite inside with the industry. He's got a lot of experience, and what he said to me was that DLCs will progressively sell less as you go along. It's just a fact, and they know this. All developers know this. And there's a very simple reason, which is that when a new game comes out, it gets tons of marketing, tons of publicity, and all the big sites and news groups are talking about it because it's a new game. But they don't talk so much about DLCs. They will often mention it, but it doesn't get anything like the coverage simply because it's a DLC. So it's nothing particularly new. It's just a small expansion. So it might get a story, but it doesn't get tons of breakdowns, videos, and all this kind of stuff. However, interestingly, the new Battlefield things like Armored Kill and stuff, they have got a lot of publicity. So I don't know, I'd be kind of interested to see. I mean, perhaps because DLCs have kind of changed and become more prominent, therefore they're more interesting to people, and they're getting more news attention, they're getting more reviews, more breakdowns, and perhaps that model is starting to change, you know?
Well, let's talk about...
Well, I just want to interject right now, since we're on the topic, is imagine a free-to-play model with Battlefield where every time a new expansion came out, they gave you the maps for free. So that would stir up the player base who's already bought the game. Then all of a sudden they throw you like 20 new guns, but you got to pay the expansion price for that. So the players who want to get all the cool new goodies, guns, maybe access to some of the new vehicle unlocks, camos, whatever, then you got to pay for that. But then you don't divide your player base, and you sort of stir up the old player base that might have not bought the expansions to begin with, but they're like, oh, look, some new maps. I guess I'll try that out. And all of a sudden you got more players playing the game, no divided player base, and probably more people buying the expansion on top of that.
Yeah, I like that idea a lot. And, you know, some people do give out free maps and stuff. I mean, literally just thinking off the top of my head, because I happened to be going through my games last night and I played some Unreal Tournament. And I remember that Unreal Tournament gave a little, you know, it was like a DLC, but it was free, and they gave you a load of maps for nothing. It was just suddenly they were like, oh, by the way, there's this, you know, DLC. So people do it. I kind of like that idea. I think it's really, really interesting. You, other guys, what do you think about Level's idea there?
I like it. You still need a hook as a business in order to get people to spend some money. But, you know, with the mentality of the player base, if you gave them the new maps for free, but then, you know, what DICE did, you know, they put some challenges in around weapons, for example. Put a challenge in around one of the new weapons so that a lot of people are using it, so that the people who didn't pay the money are getting killed by it a lot. It doesn't matter if it's overpowered or not. That's going to incent them to go shell out. Like after Close Quarters came out, they had a camo for the F2000. They had some challenges for the F2000. Well, after a couple of days, people are crying that the F2000's overpowered. It's like, no, it really, you know, if
version
you want
1.0 of the F2000 was OP.
Yeah. I mean, but you could go this way. I mean, if the maps are free and, like you say, you're going to give guns away, but people have got to buy the guns, you could be very, very sneaky about that. You could say, okay, well, the guns are going to be comparable to other weapons that exist, but maybe they have a little bit more damage, or they have a little bit of a higher fire rate, things like this. So they are giving people an edge in the game, and that in itself, people wouldn't like that. They would complain about it. But it would make people want to buy it.
Then you're in the pay to win model that people complain about when it comes to free to play.
Yeah.
A lot of this stuff is perceived advantage. I guarantee you, if Levelcap, myself, and a couple other people entered a server and we all ran some kit, whatever it is, and we're just knocking people off with it, everybody'd say, oh my God, that's the new kit. That's OP.
Yeah, I can't think of a game that I've been in where you don't hear someone screaming, someone's get killed, and they're like, that's bullshit, why did he do that? And, you know, it's just a normal weapon, but they're crying out because they got killed. That's all it is.
We were recording Squad Up with Levelcap, myself, with Timio, Mongol, and we decided to go shotguns only. And most of us were slugs, and it was so hard to figure out the lead time with these slugs. It was a pain in the ass. But the chat, the people were raging in chat.
Shotgun noobs.
Yeah, you take this thing. It's not buckshot.
Yeah, you go use it.
Yeah,
have that.
See how you do? Good luck, because it takes some learning curve.
Yeah.
Now, once you get used to it, you know, with the mechanics of the game, like suppression, if you miss a shot, you're dead with a shotgun slug. If you're suppressed, you're probably dead anyway. But people don't realize the downfalls. They just say, "Oh my God, he one-shot me from 50 meters away in the chest."
Yeah.
Okay, that's the upside.
I got calls. I kid you not. An M5K noob. When I was running it,
I like that gun.
Before I had extended mags on it. I was running it with, like, you know, whatever the first two unlocks were. I had a sight and a laser sight on it, maybe. Didn't even have extended mags. Oh my God, you M5K noob. By like a couple of people on the other team. I'm like, really?
That's it. You give me a snow ski to kill people with in BF3, and somebody will be crying by the end of the match. And that's it. People are just angry gamers.
The weapons are so well balanced in Battlefield 3. They really are. You know, and there were some minor, I would consider them to be minor balance issues early on in the game, but nothing like, you know, if I even go back one title to Bad Company 2, there were times where, like, the M60 LMG was
We weren't allowed
ridiculous.
to use that competitively, no matter what
And
they did to it. Yeah.
right, and like the AN-94 had its moments where it was really, really way too good. But I felt with Battlefield 3, like they had kind of learned some lessons. And when you looked at the damage model, like Simthic, there was a site that used to break these things down, Den Kersen used to break this stuff down before Simthic.com came out. He didn't even bother with Battlefield 3. He's like, the stats are so disinteresting because they're all the same. So, it was all around look and feel, rates of fire, recoils, that sort of thing. Like nothing was insanely overpowered. I still debate that the M16 is super OP. After the patch where it was one of the major patches where things got leveled out. But I mean, we were playing the Pub Stars tournament and we had a variety of guns. But I mean, I could make the AK-74 work against the M16. It really came down to, getting that shot. If I blew my shot, I was toast. If I hit my shot, I was fine.
It depends on your situation as well. More, as much as anything else. Where you are, your distance, how well placed they are compared to you. Have they got a second drop on you? All these kind of things. Are they preempting you to be there?
There's no weapon in that game that's going to make you a magically good player.
No, but people think
not.
that. They think that.
It's true.
Absolutely.
And that's why I still always maintain that, being able to outthink, preempt, and know your way around a map better than anyone else is the strongest tool.
Smart gameplay, smart fundamentals is better than any gun that you could pick up in the game.
Absolutely.
There's guys in this game where you could give them a pea shooter and they'll go 30 and 5.
Yeah,
and I think the reason that people still whinge and moan and whatnot about the M16 in Battlefield 3, but I think that the stronger competitive players gravitate towards that, not because it's the best at all situations, because it is not the best at all situations.
No,
because it's a well-rounded weapon.
Yeah,
it's good at them all.
And when you play in that sort of environment, you're not going to be as able to control the engagement as well when you're playing against smart players. So you want something that's well-rounded at everything. As opposed to, if you're playing in a pub lobby, well, I can play the G3A3. I know that I can probably keep most of my engagements in my favor, and I can make that work. But in competitive, that's tough to do. You're playing against smart players. If they know what gun you're using, they're going to rush you. If they know you have a slow ROF weapon, you want something well-rounded. And that was the base gun that they built a lot of the other assault rifles around. It's the same as like the XM8 prototype in Bad Company 2. It was really good. It wasn't the best at everything, but it was a fun gun to use. Had a great sound to it as well. And you could make it work in a variety of situations if you knew how to use it. And I really think that they have some strengths there. So it comes down to perceived advantages and disadvantages within the player base. And they can definitely use that to sell weapon packs.
Okay, right, let's move on. And Level, what's your topic that you want to bring in here?
All right, so I wanted to talk about the evolution of Battlefield and like how throughout since Battlefield 1942, Battlefield Vietnam, moving through Battlefield 2, and just all the new titles that have come out all the way to Battlefield 3, like most of them have had significant changes in the gameplay or new cool features or an entire engine revamp. And I'm thinking, like, what the heck is Battlefield 4 going to bring to the scene? Because they've just come out with the Frostbite 2 engine, and in Battlefield 3, I mean, it's still buggy. It's got some problems. They've been sort of working through them. So do you think Battlefield 4 is just going to be a more polished copy of Battlefield 3? Or do you guys have any ideas on what they might bring into the game? Because I honestly can't think of anything since it's being set in modern time.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that, first of all, they deserve credit for pushing the tech forward, because even on the previous gen consoles, they've pushed out Bad Company 1, which was on the Frostbite engine. They did Bad Company 2 and Battlefield 1943, which were both on like sort of Frostbite 1.5. They've released Frostbite 2 for Battlefield 3. I think that, they are trying to get the tech to a point where they can really deliver the experience that they want to deliver to the gamer. I think that BF3 with brand new tech, there were some missteps. Not everything worked as well as they wanted. And, if I was in that situation, I'd definitely want another kick at the can with a Battlefield 4. Let's try and learn from our mistakes, get it right this time.
I think they've learned a lot. I mean, I really do. I mean, and also me and Level discussed, and it was my little idea that okay, maybe they're using DLCs to actually test different dynamics, and then they can learn a lot. That's probably not actually how it is in reality. But what I do think is that by doing such different DLCs throughout the game, regardless of that, what they will have learned so many different things. And look at all the sweeping patches they've done, huge changes throughout the game. That's got to be constructive to take forward into Battlefield 4. And
so
even if they just double the quality of what we've had with this, it's going to be amazing.
Or let's talk about what we've come from. Like Level said, 2142, Battlefield 2, all these different previous titles. We've actually lost features moving forward, like spectate mode, battle recorder, gasp. I mean, the two biggest things and DICE held this out on a carrot or on a stick for us. Hey, it's coming. MLG's going to pick this up, blah, blah, blah. Nope, never came.
So that's interesting because from a marketing perspective, I mean, you have to have something new to say, look, it's Battlefield 4. It's so much, it's going to have all these things that Battlefield 3 doesn't. They can't just say it's less buggy, more balanced, more polished. I'm saying, like, what are they going to market? Are they going to say Battle Recorder is what's marketable? They've already talked about trying to make it more appealing to the competitive crowd. Who knows what that actually means?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I can't divulge. I'm not going to divulge too much information because I stand by my word and all that kind of stuff when it comes to the overall ethics of this whole gaming thing. But, I've had off-the-record conversations with a bunch of the guys from DICE, and if there was something that was held out there that wasn't delivered, I can guarantee you guys that it wasn't for lack of them wanting to do it. It wasn't for lack of trying. I think that, with the brand new engine, certain things they couldn't make it work. And I think that I really do honestly believe that, they want another opportunity to try and right some of those missteps.
And they need it because here's what let's talk marketing again, since Level brought it up. What is the coolest thing about StarCraft 2 or COD? The shoutcast, the community behind it. It is a multi-million-dollar industry on its own parallel. So you can't tout esports. You can't do the shoutcasting. There is no anti-cheat through that, and you're missing out on great promotion methods. Right? Yep. You're missing out on all that stuff. I mean, StarCraft 2, the most amazing thing is the shoutcasts that you can watch live. Or COD, the shoutcasts. Or TF2. They're awesome.
Would be stupid for DICE not to take advantage of the competitive community and gear the game towards something with Battle Recorder, where you can actually set up and have somebody commentate over a match, switch camera angles, or even put in stationary cameras to maps so they could design the maps around, like, camera 3 is overlooking this flag or something like that. I mean, they could really set it up well.
Here's a funny story real quick. This is how broken it was. Rival won a World Cup and beat Epsilon in Bad Company 2, right? Top 4 teams from Europe, top 4 teams from America. This is how broken it was. In matches leading up to that, we had Shibby 2142 and another shoutcaster come in, Matt Glitch as a recon to get on some ridiculous cliff to look down with mortar binoculars to call the match. That's how far outside the box we had to go.
Yeah, but forget about even competitive. I mean, that's whole one sphere of it. But there is another entire side of the community where people don't get involved with that, but still want those abilities. They still want to be able to do stuff. There's all these guys like all of us who do video producing and things. All of these features are really, really fantastic things. There are so many levels that you can break these kind of things down on, and it's going to be something they have to do. And they're going to have to bring it forward in Battlefield 4 because otherwise it is literally going to be just rinse and repeat. And I don't think people will stand for that anymore.
As much as we talk the talk here, the reality is that out of 15 million people that bought the game, how many people are part of this ongoing community that watch the YouTube videos, that care about the competitive scene? Like, what I will say is that I do think that DICE really does have an appetite to appease those folks that stick around after day 1 or day 2. Which is, that level of player base is probably an order of magnitude less than the people who are going to buy the title and release. So, I do give them props for that. I really hope that I'm right and that some things they just couldn't figure out in time to integrate into the new tech for Battlefield 3, and that a lot of the features that people are asking for, because, you know, the competitive scene may not necessarily sell the titles up front, but it does give the game longevity. And Battlefield 3 is not going to be a title that's supported for 4, 5, 6 years like a Battlefield 2. I don't think.
So speaking of support, what do you think they're going to do then after March, when I guess Endgame's coming out, and they've already said that Battlefield 4 isn't coming out until 2014? That's a huge gap of time for people to become disinterested.
They could
do you
do
think they have a plan?
They could do something really interesting. I mean, look at Bad Company 2, okay? When Vietnam came with Bad Company 2, there wasn't a major amount of kind of, you know, talk about that. It was just kind of, it came up. I mean, I know they sort of, they said it was in planning, okay? And then it was just waited, and then it came out. But, you know, there's no, you know, we've got a lot of time between now and when this Endgame is, for them to actually announce other things. They're not going to necessarily want to start talking about something right now that will give the game away, because they're trying to sell all this other stuff in the meantime. You know, they didn't necessarily want to be talking about this when they're trying to sell other things. They want people's mind to be on premium and on the DLCs, because that's what they're trying to push right now. But they could have something stacked away in their pocket ready to pull out.
You know, there's going to be a stop to development, though. Like, they're going to stop pushing new content at some point. But, you know, what DICE proved, like, they put out a Bad Company 2 patch, what, a couple of weeks before Battlefield 3 release? They'll stop development and stop new content. They'll continue support right up until BF4, if not beyond that, I think.
Yeah, no, that's good. And they did, remember that rumor forever ago? I think, Colin, you were involved with this, was the U.S. city maps.
That's still going to happen.
That could definitely revitalize some of the interest in Battlefield.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
No, I've got it on pretty good authority that, like, the order that the DLCs were released wasn't necessarily predetermined. And I think that you're going to be playing Conquest New York before this is all said and done.
That'd be
Sounds
sweet.
good
New
to
York,
me.
Miami, San Diego, something like that.
It would be really awesome, but you know people are going to call out COD and and all these kind of things. You know people will do it.
But I think what's going to happen
COD
through
can't
the years
own the
is
US.
No, it's true.
Yeah. But I think the lines between the two games are going to kind of mesh.
Yeah,
They
I
got to
think
step on each other's territory to steal, share, and that's what this is about. These companies are trying to figure out. COD's saying, "All right, what can we do to stop Battlefield from growing?" They're up to 15 million copies a game now. Battlefield's saying, "What can we do to get more players?" And you got to step on people's toes to do that. That's it.
People don't like it, but it's going to happen, and it's business, like we talked about earlier on. It's business. They need to steal that market share. That's what they want to do. That's what EA want to do, and it's going to happen. And people can just, you know, they really need to just get over it, because it's going to happen whether they like it or not, and that's just the end of it, really.
Well, I think they should like it because it's competition. I mean, I'd hate it if it was just COD or if it was just Battlefield, because then they get lazy and they'd be like, it's Battlefield 5, you know.
Yeah, I said this. I said this in a video. I said this the other day, is that, you know, I don't see why people view this always as a negative thing, because, you know, look at COD, okay? It was sat up there on top for ages, and what did they do? They didn't do anything. They just they just rehashed the same stuff. Right. Battlefield slowly came in from behind, and all of a sudden, bam! Amazing, massive new game. They push it so hard, and look where they are. You know, they've really taken it forward. And if Battlefield 4 has any of that kind of momentum, they're going to go further and further. And
can you imagine Battlefield 4 selling 25 million copies?
Well, yeah, exactly. You know, and COD really do need to get a grip and step forward. And I think they need to stop doing what they're doing. They need to make a market change. And, you know, like I said, they need to push the strength of what COD is. You know, it has a more arcade style. My personal feeling, like I've said, is that I think they need to simplify the game and focus on that. Get into the fast, fun gameplay, because that is what people enjoy, and that's what they should push. But that's a whole other topic, really.
Didn't they have a streaming feature built into the new one? I thought that was like listed on the features list, was like you can stream from like in-game or something, like it'll connect to Twitch TV or something.
I don't even have it.
It'd be pretty cool. Well, no, I mean the one that's coming out. What is it?
COD Black Ops 2.
Black Ops 2.
Do they have that? Is that a feature that confirmed?
I think that was, people were talking about it. It sounds kind of cool.
I think that is something people like, this whole live streaming stuff. And I mean, Rival, you've done some live streaming lately, I know. How has that gone with you?
I love it. My community loves it. and it gives me another layer of interaction to help appease them and basically thank and interact with them. So I really enjoy it. If you could put up with the drop packets every once in a while, if your internet hiccups, but other than that, no complaints.
Have you found it's quite easy to set up with, you know, how you have your whole system organized?
Twitch is much easier, but their servers aren't as friendly. YouTube has more steps to go through, but it's easier to control. And YouTube, according to Machinima, is changing. And there's already been changes to the streaming since I've started. And now there's live chat. Then there's going to be Java-ish based chat where you can promote moderators and all that stuff. So it'll be they're trying to reinvent streaming as we know it. So I bought into it. I'm on board.
That's very, very interesting. Okay, I'm going to go forward. I'm going to go with my topic for now because I want to sort of take a sort of sidestep here. I really wanted to talk a little bit about kind of peripherals for gaming. So all the kind of different things that you might get. I know Level uses all sorts of different little bits and pieces for gaming. Recently, for example, I picked up the rivaLxfactor mouse for the PS3, and that will also work for the Xbox. But the interesting thing is that whilst I've been using it, I've had quite a few comments from people sort of saying this is equal to hacking, or you know, you really have sold out, or you kind of, you know, you're cheating at the game and all these kind of things. I really don't perceive it to be the case, and I'm really interested to hear what other people think. But let's think as well, not just about, you know, mouse versus controller. There are a lot of other little bits and pieces, little peripherals, things that you can get for triggers. There's the goggles and things, you know, you can get all sorts of different mouse pads, you can get all sorts of different gaming mouses. There's so many different things in there, so I'm really interested to hear what people think about it.
I actually thought of an analogy here, so
YOLO?
YOLO. No.
Go on. Colin, go on.
I thought of an analogy here after you had mentioned this topic, so I'd like to throw that out there, okay? So when, I don't know how many of you guys play golf, but golf equipment.
Playing, but I hit the balls into the ponds.
There you go. But golf has been one of those things where the equipment has evolved quite a bit over, let's say, the last 20 years. So you might have a group of buddies that you play golf with, and based on budgetary constraints, let's say everyone's out there playing with a different vintage of equipment. So you might have, you know, the old school guy that's out there in his woods, his driver is still made of wood, which is more and more rare. But when I was playing as a junior golfer, we still had that.
Okay.
You know, so as the equipment evolves, you can invest in better equipment. So you're going out playing with your buddies, and let's say of your foursome, 3 of your friends are playing with drivers that, God forbid, are still made of wood, and you go and buy the state-of-the-art 460cc Titleist driver, okay? You invested the money in your game, and that's probably going to give you an advantage. Now, if you're a bad player to begin with,
you're still screwed.
You're still screwed. If your buddy is a good player, you know, lots of skill, hitting, you know, clubs from 1981, he's still going to beat you. But if 2 equally skilled players have, you know, equipment from different eras, then the one with the better equipment's going to have an advantage. And as long as it's within the rules of the game, I don't have an issue with it. It's fair, right?
Yeah.
Everyone can make that investment. It's when so that's sort of my how I would look at something like the rivaLxfactor. Hacking, cheating is where, you know, your buddy's actually cheating, taking strokes, like abusing the rules of the game, not calling himself risk penalties, you know, kicking the ball out of a bad lie, that sort of thing. And that's how I see it. So, you know, the guy who can't afford the brand new driver, he ain't gonna like it if you guys were on a pretty level playing field before and now you're driving it past him and beating him in the game, but it's fair. And he has the same opportunity. If you're cheating to get there, then that's bullshit.
It's natural evolution of product. And look back when the PC first came out, when you had like a Microsoft IntelliMouse to play games. You know, keyboards have improved through the years. The products that have come out have improved through the years. It's up to you to stay up on that. Like mouse acceleration. Half the people don't know that they probably have mouse acceleration on, and that's hindering their performance. So is that cheating by turning mouse acceleration off? Nope. That's just smarter playing. That's all it is. So as these things come out, the Zim controllers and the keyboards and the mice that plug into Xboxes, that's fair game.
I mean,
if you participate in a league, that league can choose its own rules, in my opinion.
Yeah,
So
sure.
if you're playing competitive, if they want to say that you can only use a controller upside down with one thumbstick,
Yeah.
then that's their prerogative as a league. But when it
think-
comes to
well,
the general player base,
Yeah, I
it's
mean,
all
think
fair.
of that in like car racing terms or anything like that. If you have a racing tournament or something like that, they can say, okay, you can only have this amount of horsepower. You can only have this. You
Or
can.
this
You
much
can't
air-
use this. You can't use that. So yeah, they can dictate how they want that tournament to run. But yeah, when it comes down to the normal stuff, people are just thrashing around. Yeah, they can do whatever they want to do. But the thing is as well is that nothing has full benefit. Like we were talking about weapons earlier on, nothing has some infinite benefit that's going to give you a massive advantage over anyone else. Okay, it might give you a small things, but even then I still think that things are a little bit of a trade-off. From my experience with the mouse, it's very good in helping your gunplay, but I still think that vehicles are much more easily controlled using a gamepad than the mouse.
They are.
And I've had a lot of people say
Absolutely
that.
are.
And I've had people who say they play a lot of PC and a lot of console gameplay, and they say that the gamepad is infinitely easier, faster, and much more user-friendly when it comes to controlling vehicles versus a mouse on PC or console. So I think it really is a bit of a trade-off one way or another. The mouse is going to give you better gunplay, but less with the vehicles, and vice versa. That's just the way I see it. But I mean, Level, you used loads of bits and pieces. So I mean, well, not loads. I'm not making you sound like you're teched out here and you're not playing it. But you have some sort of peripherals that you use. I mean, what's your thoughts with this?
Bionic arm.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Go
it's one of those things where when you're a casual gamer, you're fine with your Microsoft keyboard and your Logitech mouse that's 5 years old. But once you start taking it up like multiple notches and really starting to get at the top of your game, all of a sudden you start to think about like, well, this is kind of an old crummy mouse. What if I got like a new fancy mouse with faster
Sloppy when I
clickabilities?
move it, blah blah blah, all that
Yeah,
stuff.
it's like when I upgraded to my current mouse, which has less distance to click the left click down than my old mouse did, so I can literally fire like a handgun faster. I don't have to put as much pressure on it, so I can aim a little bit better when I'm spam firing a pistol. It's something that I can take advantage of now that I've achieved a skill level that I'm happy with. But had I been handed this awesome mouse like years ago when I was still kind of more of a casual player, I'd be like, yeah, I guess I can do just as good with this one as my old mouse. So it's one of those things that I think a lot of pro gamers can benefit from, and a lot of casual gamers can at least like to look at and think that they're benefiting a bit more from. But I think one of the biggest things that I've always stuck with is having a monitor that can show over 60 frames per second. Ever since CRT sort of started going the way of the dinosaur, we lost a huge thing in competitive gaming, was the frame rate. People think, oh, you can't see over 60 FPS.
Frames and response
You
time.
can see way over 60 FPS. I mean,
Yeah.
back in the days of Counter-Strike, it was like I
People-
wouldn't play unless I
Yeah.
was getting 90 plus.
People still
Well-
buy CRTs on eBay for $600-700 a pop. The same CRT that you'd pay $150 for back in the day, $200
Yeah.
for.
Well, I'll kind of, I agree and disagree with you on that. So if I go back to my golf analogy, if you have a duffer golfer who is using an old club from 1985, he's going to swing at it. He's going to miss a lot more than if he is using the brand new tech of a 460cc state-of-the-art driver. And I was totally new to PC gaming a year ago. And my mouse, I would say that my mouse was the single biggest investment for me that helped me make the transition from console to PC gaming effectively, because I had thumb buttons and stuff like that. I don't have a whole lot of dexterity in my left hand, and not being a PC gamer, going up to the number keys, it's not natural. So having the ability to have all these functions on my mouse that had been ingrained in me over years of console playing is sort of a right-handed function, whether it was, crouching, going prone, even something that simple.
Mhm.
That helped me out. That helped me make the transition. So I think that some of the better equipment is going to help somebody who's never played at all at least get a bit more enjoyment out of the game. It's not necessarily,
Less frustration.
less frustration. You're not going to take a total PC noob and slap a mechanical keyboard and the latest greatest Razer gaming mouse in their hand and put them up against rivaLxfactor and Levelcap and they're gonna win if Rival and Levelcap are using, you know, an old Microsoft keyboard and you know, Logitech wireless mouse with 2 buttons. Not gonna happen. But it takes away the frustration level. You have to invest sometimes in your hobby in order to get more out of it. And you know, for me, that's what it is. I'm not a pro gamer, and I think that you know, my struggles in adjusting to PC gaming and getting better at Battlefield 3 are fairly well documented. But
I like all the F-bombs personally.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I mean, it's a really personal thing, and it does come back to exactly what we were talking about earlier with the weapons, that it's perception. People perceive the fact that, oh, you have something that's a bit different from me, therefore it gives you an unfair advantage, and that's why you're winning. You know, it's going to help you, but it's not the thing that makes you win the rounds. It's the person behind it that does that, and it's a very personal thing. You know, some people could have a gamepad and be blisteringly, you know, fantastic and accurate with it, but you know, it's a personal thing. Everyone needs to control and feel in a different way. It's
no different than sports. It's no different than some people have God-given talents in the most rudimentary things or the most craziest things in the world. Like look at soccer players. Some are fast. Some have great footwork. Some are great strikers. Some are great defenders. Or basketball. Some can dribble. Some can shoot. Some can just beat up a guy down low. I mean, there's all these different skill sets that build into being a good gamer. And very few people have it all. And we have to remember that. Even I, say, well, that's beyond my limitations, and I back out of a situation.
So, I mean, you know, what you can look at in any sort of situation, like if I look at it from a tech support perspective in my career, if you're troubleshooting an issue and it's a picnic, what that means is the problem's in the chair. Problem in chair, not in computer. And the same thing goes with gaming. So much of it is between your ears that unless you have all of that put together, you know, in your head, the equipment doesn't matter. But when people are on a level playing field between the ears, then the equipment comes into play. So you get a lot of work to do before you have to worry about having top of the line equipment.
I've talked a little bit recently on my game, and people haven't liked the fact that I've been talking about these gameplays where I'm going, look how bad these guys are doing. They're not even thinking about the most basic things, and people start going, oh, Luetin, you're hating the game, blah blah blah. I'm not hating the game. I'm just trying to highlight the fact that, you know, some people clearly. I mean, for example, I was playing Carg Island, second base. I ran down into the base. I ran through 3 guys. There was another 6 in front of me. I armed A, I armed B, and no one even fired a shot at me. Now, you can't tell me that, you know, those guys could be running the most amazing spec systems in the world, but they didn't see me, so it doesn't even matter. You know, that's the kind of stuff that I'm talking about. You know?
Absolutely.
Okay, all right, let's go on with the final one now. Go with Rivals. So, Rival, what have you got for us?
My little bit today is more of a what if, and it's towards DICE and all of us as players and what we accept. Because every time we spend more money with DICE or whatever game that we're playing, we say, okay, it's all right the way you're operating your model with us. But what if? Okay, let's say, what if there were beta test servers? Okay, DICE is notorious for rolling out these huge, massive patches, you know, that come every 3 or 4 months, or with expansions that usually mess stuff up even more. Let's think the dart. You remember the underslung dart thing, right? And other things. But what if there were beta test servers working on the next build? Would you guys jump into those every once in a while?
Absolutely.
I definitely would. But, you know, more than that, I mean, I really would like to see, and the community has kind of been building up over time, but there's people like Levelcap, there's people as well like myself, I will say. We spend the time looking at these things in the game, we spend the time playing them in the game, and we aren't the raging people who come onto forums going, this is broken, fix it, fix it, fix it. You know, we have intelligent, objective discussions about these
no
things.
positive feedback. This is OP, fix it. Yeah,
you know, we have, you know, we understand the balance of the game. We understand that some things are going to work, some things are not, and that they're not OP, because we've talked a lot about weapons and how, you know, that it's not just about that. But I really think that the next stage in terms of communication between DICE and that would be for some of the community guys who represent DICE to actually sort of identify producers and people within the community who do this kind of stuff and say, look, these guys are switched on, they know what they're doing, they're testing, and I know that DICE have got their own testers and all the rest of it, but I think it would be a good thing to kind of speak sometimes to these people and say, however you find it in the game, they take that information back, they can use it if they want to use it or not, you know?
You know what's funny is, I'm gonna go back to Bad Company 2, where there's this philosophy or physics in the game called res train, and it's something that Rival perfected. And we played a bunch of Russians, and this clip made it online. And literally 2 Rival guys held off 6 of these Russians while they're just firing into the pile of 2 Rival guys, res training each other. It took them so long to kill the 2 Rival guys. Like, it's a 1.5-minute clip, and there's 5 or 6 of these Russian players that Rival took the rest of the rest of the map. Game over.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's my thing is here. Give it to competitive guys, because they're wolves among the sheep. They will break down and find every mechanical glitch, every advantage, and try to use it, because it's the competitive nature in these people. Now, I'm not talking about glitching. I'm not talking about things of that nature. I'm talking about they will stretch the dynamic and the mechanics built into the game to the furthest letter. And, get other guys like you and Level and Colin and YouTubers who, care about the game, who care about the community, and want to fix stuff before it gets out in the open. I guarantee this, that dark glitch never would have made it out. Suppression 2.0 never would have made it out of a beta server. I guarantee it.
And what's funny also, Luetin, is talking about DICE promoting some of the people in the community who are actually getting into this and researching it. Do you remember when your ECM, like definitive guide on ECM, Zinto posted it on Battlelog?
Yes.
And he said a lot of people have been asking questions about how ECM works. This is how it works. And like halfway through your video, you conclude that ECM is broken for jets. That was like a big point in your video.
Watch.
And so you're sitting there and you're like, so is this DICE's official stance on ECM? It's just broken, and like they agree? Or
I felt bad for that, because the video did post a lot of good things. Like, it did say exactly how it worked. I did explain the complete mechanic of it, but I did also say that I tested it for a month and decided that it didn't work. So it wasn't maybe the best thing to post on Battlelog. I hope I haven't burnt, but it wasn't my fault. Like, literally someone tweeted it to him and he was like, "This is a great video," posted it up. But maybe it was a thing.
Yeah, that's funny. Like,
Zinto's always been good about.
He's an awesome guy.
Promoting content and people that are level-headed and just aren't the shock jocks of the gaming community. And he gets after that. Like, if you support them, they support you. It's a shame that they've kind of taken the social media aspect out of the hands of the community managers, although I can understand why they did. It's gotten a little bit overwhelming. But like, I had a video at one point, I just sent him a video on Skype, just personally to him. Here, I made this. I thought you'd get a kick out of it. Him, Zinto, not the community, not anyone else. And I had done a Pink Floyd cover of Comfortably Numb, and I just found a game of Conquest and slapped it over that, and put it on not my own channel. I put it on another channel, and because I know he likes the music, and I know whenever something goes on the Battlefield Twitter or Battlelog, well, it wasn't Battlelog at the time, but the Battlefield Facebook page, people just swarm to it to hate it.
Oh, yeah.
Some people really like it, but it gets like 50,000 views. It gets like 5,000 dislikes just because we're so mad about Bad Company 2 that anything that they post that's Bad Company 2, we're going to go hate on it. And it was hilarious. I'm like, that wasn't my intended outcome, but thanks for the publicity.
Yeah.
I do think, but when we come back to the whole thing of doing a beta testing thing like Rival's saying, and whether people would use it, it's a tricky one, isn't it? Because, what do? Do you make that public? Do you just give it to some people? If you were only giving it to specific people, that's going to make it, obviously, it's just going to be like a private testing thing, which they probably do anyway. The difficulty with it would be, I think, if you make it public, we are just going to be back to that whole thing of people raging, and like it or not, and I don't want to be condescending here, but some people simply just don't understand the game. They don't understand the dynamics, and there's a lot of complex sort of permutations going on between weapons, physics, and all these other kind of things in the game. Some people, like it or not, just have no understanding, and if you make it public, that's going to be something that's a difficulty you have to deal with.
I'll tell you this much: the plant site 2, the tech test. Those are the most productive forums I've ever been on, and those are handpicked individuals from the gaming community.
Yeah.
And I've never seen something so. I mean, you talk about.
I think that's how you have to do it.
Posts, and it's information. It's not this sucks. This gun's OP. It's here's what happens when I shoot this gun at this increment, this many bullets. They're all flying into the mountains. Yeah. And here's how you could fix it. You know, it's amazing stuff. So I'm a big fan of the Sony program where you invite hand-picked individuals who, as Colin would say, are cool-headed, scientific thought process, fact figure type people.
I would like to see them test it. I would like to see them do it as a kind of little test, sort of say, okay, we're going to try this out.
400 or 500 people, and you weed out the bad eggs.
Bad I mean, input, it wouldn't take very long. Yeah.
Out. That's it.
It's true.
Yeah, but I think they need to cover a spectrum, though. It can't all be competitive players.
No,
it can't all be casual players. You have to have people.
The competitive gamers want the game to be harder. They want there to be higher learning curves, recoil patterns like CS:GO. I'm all for give me some crazy recoil pattern that I can memorize and make this little S swoop of my mouse and dome somebody. That's not for the 95 percentile of this game.
Yeah.
So there needs to be
sacrifice the fun
10% of these guys that play competitive, and the rest, maybe 10% YouTubers, and then the rest public players.
It's true, and I know that like when me and Level were talking on one of our videos, and I remember Level, you were going, "Oh, this competitive and that competitive and la la la," and you made this whole point, and I was like, "That's true." But most people that play the game won't care about that, and it's that kind of thing. It's like you've got to see it from both perspectives, and it's also very, how do you then balance between PC and console? Because, and I know there's going to be a lot of people that say screw one or the other, but it's like it or not, they're doing a cross-platform thing here, and they need to take that into account as well.
I've always been a fan of you have individual patches for each platform because they're all different.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
Of 12v12 versus 32v32. There should be a difference there, and a controller does work differently than a mouse and a keyboard.
Yeah, so recoil has to be way different on consoles,
and
that's.
But it's not, right?
No, it's not.
Well, my question is, why doesn't console have a second vehicle sensitivity like PC does?
Yes, that's so irritating. I really hate that.
Tanks, I've been told, tanks, they turn as fast as a turtle can turn around.
It's you can't even believe how annoying it is, and that's also why mouse sucks for vehicles, because on console it's just unbearable. But for example, as well, I have picked up Bad Company 2 and even Bad Company this week because I wanted to try it out, and I was like, wow, I've forgotten how cool and also simplistic this game is. I mean, for example, in Bad Company, I noticed in tanks you don't even have ammunition. You just have a little bar that bounces up and down, so it has to reload. That's for your main cannon and stuff. It's kind of cool. But where I was going with this, where was I going with this? Damn it. Oh, I know where I was going with this. But with those games, I noticed straight away, because they're console-based games, the guns have almost no recoil, and it does improve your gameplay. And I know people are going to say, oh, well, that's just because you suck at the game and you couldn't handle recoil, blah, blah, blah. Like it or not, okay, controlling recoil with a controller is very, very difficult. And I think
I can't do it.
No. Yeah, exactly. And Level
I had to actually disable. So, if you look at how, people talk about auto aim on consoles, aim assist, what it does is it decreases your controller sensitivity when you're on or around a target.
Yeah.
So if you want to make a quick adjustment, you can't do it if you're on a target or around a target. So it's almost like trying to push two magnets of the same polarity together. Like you get there and it's slow, then it snaps away.
Yeah.
So controlling recoil on the console is very difficult if you don't disable aim assist.
It's different sensitivities. You have a sensitivity within a sensitivity. No thanks.
That's right.
You tried doing it with a stick anyway. I mean, I think you said to me the other day that some people claim that you can do it, but most people say it's impossible, and that's from a lot of good players as well. I mean, I'm sure you can do it. You can do it.
Yeah.
I think as well, it does matter with the weapon as well. It really does, because some guns have got such heavy recoil depending on their fire rate and all these kind of things. These are all factors to implement, and it's all those kind of things as well.
And the really interesting thing is console players would often complain about different guns than PC players because something on console, like I remember the FAMAS was a huge issue on the console for a while. And like on PC, I was just like, FAMAS, that's
a big deal.
I hope I run into a guy with a FAMAS. Like, I'll take him out, no problem. Yeah, it was never a big deal, but I remember it became huge for like console players. And I assume that has a lot to do with recoil control and mechanics and stuff like that, making some guns better, some guns worse. And they should definitely have two people, because I believe it was Demise who sort of, he sort of spearheaded the big weapon change patch that really balanced out the guns a lot better from the initial release. And that was great, but I know that those same settings just got plugged into both console and PC. And they should really have had either two guys or one guy work on two different sets of stats for both platforms.
So, I know one of the objectives of DICE was to keep a common version of the game running on all three platforms. I think that hopefully they've learned from that was probably a mistake, given that each of the platforms has a different certification process, each of the platforms has a different capability, that, until the next gen console comes out, and even at that, the graphics cards are going to be a little bit behind what's available on PC. I think that leads to kind of a lose-lose situation, and I think that they should be okay with having different versions of the game, different recoil values, different patch levels, etc., because every console has its advantages or platform has advantages, disadvantages, and the recoil balance that works on PC may not work on the console. There's a whole lot of other things we can talk about to that end, but I think that keeping it common across all three isn't the right approach.
I think as well, tailoring it specifically. I mean, I talked and broached the idea of having specific maps, because I know people have complained a lot about maps and stuff like that, and I think it's something that could be addressed. I don't know how far they really want to go with it, as always when I make these ideas, but I like the idea that consoles might have 2-3 maps that are specific to consoles. Similarly, I like the idea that maybe 2-3 maps could be specific to PC, and both could be tailored to the pros and cons of each system. So obviously the PC one might be larger. You could have sprawling urbanscapes that are big and really play to the advantages of it. The console ones would be smaller and more engaging, and just simply play to the advantages of both. I like that idea.
Well, and ideally this is the last time we'll run into these, because maybe Battlefield 4 will be on next-gen consoles and you guys will get 64 players, and then they won't have to worry about all these weird design issues. I
wouldn't play 64.
Would have just... Why not? Yeah, you would.
I wouldn't play 64.
It's really, really good on some maps, and it is abysmally awful on some maps.
Sweet on close quarters. I don't know what you're talking about.
What do I want to do? End up running around on 64 Metro, shooting people in the back like iPhone Star? No, thank you. No, thank you.
64 Metro has got nothing on 64 player Zeba Tower.
Yeah, don't doubt it.
But one that is fun is 64 man Karkand, 64 man Sharky. The Karkand map.
Caspian, on 64.
Those big maps would be fun. Yeah.
Well.
Absolutely.
But you see, that's what we're talking about. I mean, that's what I'm talking about. Is they could have larger maps that play to the 64. Maybe design them, 64 only. Maybe they're only designed for that sort of thing, and they actually have limitations in place.
I'm a big fan of that. I don't know why they allowed people to play freaking Metro with 64 players. 32 is more than enough. Like maybe 40 if you want to make it crazy. But I mean, gosh,
I honestly
players
think
per team, 4 squads per team in that kind of close quarters. It's insane.
I think Metro was actually a map that was designed as sort of a release map, beta map. I think that one plays well at 20. If you have 2 good teams of
32 or less,
12 players, like 12v12 on Metro works.
16 aside or less.
If you are on a weak team, 16 and 16, it's awful. It's awful.
Yeah.
And 32v32, good luck.
Metro ends up in a spawn camp 150% of the time.
We always play team stacked with a bunch of friends, and we manage to make the most out of Metro. But if you're just a random player going into play, it's not a good experience.
But that's the funny
in
thing is
anything
everybody
more
thinks
than
you can level up
12v12.
fast in 64-man Metro. No, you can't. It slows you to a grind because there's only 3 choke points in multiple spots of the map. It
Yeah.
hurts to get points in those maps.
Yeah.
And here's the thing that's mind-numbing about it is DICE sort of had this idea, and they're like, well, why don't we just let the players customize their servers? Then they'll all just join the game modes that they like, and we'll give them the freedom. Yet all the populated servers are the worst freaking setups available. Like, I'm banging my head against the keyboard sometimes because I want to get in a good Conquest game, and they're all instant vehicle spawn. It's like, who the hell wants to play instant vehicle spawn?
That goes
It's
back
horrible.
to perception is reality.
Yeah.
People amassing those servers early on because they're different said, oh my God, this is the greatest things ever. And as servers are dying out, as the game's kind of dying out, those servers have survived. And, you know, most people are like you and I in that thought process. Well, wow, this really sucks 30% of the time. You know, wish there were other servers. Let's go look. Oh, wait, this is the only good server right now.
Right. And then we go
from the legit ones.
and then we go
Yes.
buy our own. But then we go buy our own, and the only time that we can populate those servers with kind of what we think are good settings is if we like tweet it out or get the general public to come in,
Yeah.
and that will get you about 80 to 90% good, hard
Really good
playing
players.
PTFO good players. But the trolls, man, the trolls.
Yeah.
And one of the things that's kind of frustrated me with all of this is that, you know, I think that my skill level in the game has been very well documented. When I came over to PC and I started playing Bad Company 2 and then BF3, I don't claim to be a great player, but apparently there's 2 types of players: people that want to come in and fuck with me because I've got a following, or tryhards that come in that are really good at the game that think they have something to prove by beating up on me.
Christ, I hate
Yeah.
that so
It's
much.
like you're not proving anything. You're
Or
proving
they
that-
got 4 guys in one team speak chasing you down.
Exactly.
You know? And that's the thing that, you know,
Which is
die
why
on the inside every time. It's like
honestly,
it just took 4
that's
of you
why
to
I
kill
stopped
me.
doing. That's why I stopped doing open lobbies.
I
Because, like,
I
it was
always
so
used to
hard.
hate it. I always used to hate it when people would challenge you to some kind of 1v1 match, and it's kind of like, why? So that you can, you know, choose whatever abusive tactic you've been practicing for the last 6 months, and then, you know, use it to sort of exploit you into a corner, and then go, oh my God, look, you suck. And it's like, yeah, okay, whatever. Seriously, it's just, I just hate that kind of bullshit. But yeah, luckily I'm not at that stage where people are chasing me down. But that's not true, because when I held it's not true, because when I held my 24-hour event, literally I just turn around at any moment in the game and there's someone coming for me with a knife. I'm just like,
Levelcap and I were just talking about this the other day. It's I know when I'm playing, you know, in Levelcap server, in my server, that I have to turn around 3 times as much as I normally do.
yeah, it's true.
literally-
Squad
habit.
ups get extremely bad with you, me, Matimio, and Mongol. Those games are so troll heavy, it's insane.
But we get the last laugh 95% of the time where we'll shoot somebody 10 times in the face, but yet they got that one knife kill.
Yeah, exactly. Well, also, you know, what about those special dice tags that they were giving out recently? Don't give that shit to any of us. Keep it at arm's length. No, I don't want it.
I'm apparently entitled to one, but because I got so pissed off at stalkers, I changed my battle log ID literally the day before they handed those out, so I still don't have mine.
Lols.
Yeah, I've been changing mine too, weekly, so I don't think I'm gonna get mine. I know Grizzle's been putting in a good word for me and stuff too.
Yeah, no, I'll
people
do whatever I can. So
there was loads of people spamming saying that why hasn't I been given them, and why hasn't who else was it? Someone else. But I don't want it. People will just be coming for me all the time.
yeah, put a bullseye on them.
I know. I don't want it. Oh my God.
I don't mind it as much. Just get an auto shotty, you know, problem solved.
Oh Christ. But you know,
Hold up in a corner. All right, come find me.
Level, actually, I just want to quickly ask as well, and I hope that I don't make this a public thing, but the privacy thing, the issue that you had, has that improved for you or not since you changed your title and stuff? I did notice that on a lot of videos, people have now made it like a little mission. They're like, oh, he's changed his name and this is how you can get around it, blah, blah, blah. And I don't know, has it gotten worse or better?
Here's the thing, and
Is it
I
pissing
realize
you
some
off?
trolls are going to benefit from this information and some won't, but battle log is so unbelievably bad at like just giving you no privacy at all. So the measures that I've taken first I changed my name. Was like, nobody's gonna find me for like a while because I've got a random combination of I's and L's in my name that look identical on the screen, and there's literally thousands of combinations. So by the time they figure it out, I can just change my name again. It'll be no problem. Well, apparently all they have to do is just look up any player who's on my friends list, and they can find my profile, no problem. Because you can look up a player and see everyone that they're friends with. So I had to kick everyone off my friends list. And
I cried.
Yeah, X-Factor cried. We had to have a talk. And and then I changed my name again, and this time just kept like anything resembling me out of the name to just random combination of I's and L's. And I got rid of my battle log platoon that had like 5,000 like members of it and stuff who were like fans of me. So I got rid of that so they couldn't stalk me through that. And it gets me off of BF3 Stalker for about a day or two, depending on how hard they're working on hunting me down. But here's the problem with it is somebody can just favorite a round
a battle report. Yep.
Battle report, and I'm fucked. So there's literally nothing I can do. Yeah, until it buries itself. And there's literally nothing I can do if somebody has that. And people are like, well, why don't you make Smurf accounts? Well, and then what? People figure out what my Smurf account is, and there's no longer a fucking Smurf account. So
it's never ending. But I think that they really need to take some kind of stance with this. They need to change the mechanic of it.
Now that I have more time on my hands, and I'm going to work with a couple of people, we've got a song and a video we're going to put together.
That was not what I expected you to say.
As a feature request to DICE about this very issue. Yeah, and I guarantee you that people at DICE are going to see this.
Yeah, they need to push it.
I actually have a method now. Like when I game, when we're doing squad up, there's a different method there. But when I game now, I'm in a friendly server where I know there's an admin, or I could Skype somebody instantly and say, hey, this dude just went 85-0 in 2 seconds.
Yeah.
And they're usually connected to meta bands. So that right there, takes care of it for me.
Colin, if you need an alto for that song, just hit me up.
I was going to say, I think there's going to be definitely a position for Level to throw in some of your montage footage of your get to the chopper.
Say, the big retort was, well, don't you want the community to follow you? Yes, we love it when you guys interact with us, the 99 percentile. But it's the 1 percentile who make it hard for us to film and get footage and gameplay that will knife you out of a helicopter 200 meters above the ground.
I will never understand these people.
You have a tank with the Rex, that's who ruins it.
I will never understand these people. I never will. I just can't get my head around what it is that it does for them. I just don't get it. I really don't. I just can't understand
They want gratification. They want attention because they have a small wiener, and that's it.
It's a very bizarre thing, and I just can't ever think about it. Right, Colin, what were you going to say? Your speech?
So I had a little speech, yeah. So because I got, and no disrespect to you, Luetin, these other two guys play on the PC, and that's kind of the platform I've chosen to play Battlefield 3 on. Initially, when I started playing the game, I tended to focus on what frustrated me, and this mechanic and that mechanic and the other mechanic, and what it really boiled down to was just getting frustrated at my own performance in the game and blaming it on a lot of different factors that really weren't the contributing factor to why I wasn't doing well. And Levelcap and X-Factor, through their videos, whether it's personal playing with them, talking to them, that sort of thing, these are the two guys that have really contributed to me improving as a player and getting way more enjoyment out of the game. I feel that I'm in control of my own destiny, if you will, within any given round by the way I play. And if you really take this gaming seriously as a hobby, if you want to spend your time experiencing the joy of gaming versus, if you just want an outlet to rage, then, have at it. But if you really want to dig in and enjoy what you're doing and have it be a gratifying experience, then, I encourage you to don't take to the battle log forums to bitch about stuff. Don't stay awake at night worrying about what DICE patched. Focus on yourself and focus on what you're doing and your own enjoyment of the game. These two guys on the PC side of things have helped me incredibly at getting better at the game, enjoying my time playing the game. And that's why I kind of have, sort of this laid back attitude. Like, I don't care. The things are balanced. I'm fine with what they're doing because when I play it, I enjoy it. But I didn't always. And it took some time, and it took, going back to basics. And I think that, what Levelcap and X-Factor are putting out there for content is helpful for all levels of players. And, take some time to absorb that. Invest that back into your own gameplay, and then, in a couple of months, come talk to me about bitching about Battlefield 3. Do you still hate dice? Because I don't think you will. Once you actually take the analytical approach to understand what the game is, because it's not Bad Company 2, it's not Call of Duty, it's not the other games you've played. It's its own game, and it takes time to figure out how to play it, how to get good at it, and how to enjoy it. And once you get to that point, you kind of reach this level of zen, which is still interspersed with some really loud F-bomb rage moments. Don't get me wrong. But there's just so much more that you can get out of it if you focus on the positive aspect, the constructive aspect, the self-improvement aspect, versus what the hell did the developer do wrong. So I want to thank these guys for helping me get there. I love playing this game, and they're a large part of that. And I think that I hope that other people take that same constructive attitude, because as new games come out, whether it's Warfighter, BF4, listen to what these guys are saying. Sometimes it's very dry analytical stuff, which I tend to like. I'm an engineer, I'm scientifically minded, but there's something in there's no bullshit in what they're putting out. It's all going to help you. It's going to help you learn, and you're going to enjoy the game more. So
thanks, man.
It's great stuff.
Thank you very much, Colin. That means a lot coming from you, because I remember when we first started working together, you'd go through and, you'd voice these things where you'd say, well, on Xbox, you can do this and you can do that. And all it is you bridge that gap between understanding mechanics of the game. That's it.
Yep.
And once you understand, just like anything in life, it gets easier. It's more fun. It's less frustrating. And when you bridge that gap, you reach your level of enlightenment, nirvana in the Battlefield world. And that's what I know Levelcap tries to preach. That's kind of what I try to preach, is just get you past those little frustrating things you might not think about. Hey, here's something you might want to think about. That's it.
You don't focus on the bad things. You don't focus on the drama. You don't focus on the thing of the day that's going to get views. Yeah. Every video is meant to help people. Every video is constructive or analytical. If it's negative, then it's negative with you come to the table with potential solutions as opposed to just bitching about problems. And so my personal enjoyment's gone up, my performance has gone up, my statistics have gone way up, all of that sort of thing, since I've taken that mindset to listen to what these guys are saying. And I think that everyone can benefit from that. It doesn't matter if you are, a total noob to a pro player. Everyone can try and get more enjoyment out of their hobby. And gaming, for most people, for the 99.9% of people, it's a hobby. And if you're not getting the most enjoyment out of it, then you're cheating yourself. And I think that, the brain power on the table here, and Luetin as well, like, I've watched a lot of your videos on the PS3, very analytical, very level-headed, and that's where I wanted to start. Like, I wanted to start this whole YouTube journey as not a very good player, sharing what I learned and what I found to get me more enjoyment. And these guys at the table, watch what they're doing. You'll get more enjoyment out of the game, no question.
I can definitely relate to that. And I think as well, I'd be interested to talk just to Level and Rival quickly on this one. But I know with my stuff that I make, I've always tried to kind of think more about the kind of mental aspect of it, the thought processes that allow you to kind of progress with the game, thinking about what you need to do in the game, prioritizing what you need to do in the game, thinking about routes around maps, tactics, but just basic stuff like thinking about how to assess a situation and stuff. Things that, I'm always amazed that people actually don't do for themselves, and I try to put that stuff out there. But I know, Level, when we were talking, again, just bring back to the whole mouse situation and learning to do a new thing with the game. And you were saying to me, I was sort of thinking, oh yeah, I'll pick this up, I'll play with it for like a week and then it'll all be good. And you were saying to me, oh, don't expect to be making any forward progress for a month. You know, you won't be seeing the kind of benefit come back to that. I think, you know, the reason for that in my mind was that I had been so used to people commenting and looking at stuff in terms on YouTube videos and what people would say to you, saying, oh, you know, you suck at the game, or you rubbish at this, and you know, you can just pick this up. If you were doing this, you would just do it better. And it comes back to what we were talking about with perception. But then when you actually talk to someone who knows about it, they know the timescales, they have their feet on the ground, and they have a much more realistic understanding of how long it's going to take someone to adapt and get better with the game. But you know, thinking about Rival, you and Level, when you kind of made a movement into Battlefield and so on, did you find that for yourselves even? You know, you guys are both very good players, but did you find that there was a natural learning curve for everyone, and that, you know, everyone's going to progress at their own way, and it just takes time, and that's, you know, the case of what it is?
I think my skills probably changed more than X-Factor's, since X-Factor came into Battlefield 3 already having like world championships under his belt and stuff from Bad Company too. And I actually did learn a lot from X-Factor. You know, that was one of the first things that we did together, was we talked about cornering and peeking and stuff. But I actually borrowed some of X-Factor's quick key setups and stuff for the mouse and stuff, and that does take time to like get into, and so I had a pretty good idea of like how long it took. And some things are easier to learn and become second nature, and some things are a lot harder, like adapting to an entirely new controller. That's a pretty big step. That's going to take a while. And I'm sure Colin knows, like, it's going to take you months, or at least a month, depending on how long you're playing every day, to really get at the same level where you used to be. Like right now, I'm thinking about switching my airplane controls to a different thing, because I think I could maybe improve my gameplay by like 5 to 10%, but it's going to take me like weeks to get back up to where I am now if I switch up that control scheme. So I'm sort of like debating on whether or not to do it. But yeah, there's a huge amount of time that can go into anything. And then there's simple things that, as long as you understand the concepts and you keep reminding yourself of them, then you'll just get better. Like something that I'm working on right now that my fans point out to me is that I'll reload and my ADD kicks in, and as I'm reloading, I'll peek a corner just to see if somebody's coming, and what do you know, there is a guy coming, and he just blows me away because my gun's not at the ready. And it's just something that I like. You know, that's not going to take time necessarily to master not peeking around a corner. You just got to remind yourself. And some of those things can be actually a little bit quicker to like get under the belt.
Rival?
I'm going to, you know, I agree with everything that's been said here, but everybody has a natural level cap. No plan words here, right? So they have a natural level cap, and it's how quickly can you get to that? And watching Levels videos or helpful videos or tutorials and stuff like that, just condensing down that learning curve and adapting and adjusting. So, you know, I'm a big proponent of allowing people to open up their thought process to other things to better their gameplay and reach their true potential. You know, because, you know, my philosophy is I hope my community members have higher true potential than I do. I want everybody to be a very, very good player, and that's what my videos, that's the goal of my videos, to help them realize that, hey, you're a really good player deep down inside if you apply these little gems, you know, that you can use, and that's it.
You know, it's an interesting extension to that is people think, well, no, I'd rather be the best player. But what's funny is when we were playing some of those battle royale rounds where we invite like all our subs to come play with us, and we get these top-notch players in the game. Those are some of the best and most fun games that like I've had in a pub, because everybody's at the top of their game. You don't got teammates that are in the back like dispensing ammo to a sniper or something. You know, it's like they're on the front line. They're trying to push objectives. They're reviving, and all of a sudden you're like, wow, this is awesome. Both teams, like enemy and friendly, are like really meshing. They know what they're doing. You know, if we're going to break through this line, it's not going to be because they had their backs turned. It's going to be because we actually overpowered. So it's really awesome to actually play with a lot of players who know what they're doing, as opposed to just improving your own skills and rising above them in twitch reflexes or strategy or whatever.
I can tell you from experience that it's more intense and you're going to take more away from the experience of being the worst player in a very competent lobby of people who know what they're doing than you will take away from being the best player in a lobby of random people who don't give a crap about what they're doing. But either way, to get to that point, you need to put some focus on yourself, not the developer, not the game, not the other players, but put it on yourself, and you will get way more out of it that way. And, you know, think more positively, and you are not going to improve your gameplay while you're typing mad emails to some forum about stuff you don't like.
Mm-hmm. I think as well, what I would just say is that from what Level was saying, it's those kind of games that are the ones that are the best, the hard fought games, the games where you come up against people and you have to fight for every piece of ground that you're taking to move forward.
Absolutely.
And you know, this is something that I really strive to push in terms of discussing. Okay, I see Rival's got to step out now. Rival, thanks for joining us this evening, and I hope we can do this again really soon.
Appreciate it, guys. Baby's freaking out. Gotta go.
Cheers,
luck,
mate.
Good luck.
But yeah, I'll just wrap up here. But basically what I was just saying is that, you know, those kind of games where you're really stacked against other players who are equally good and they're fighting really hard, everyone's really playing for the objective, they're all playing to win, and they really, you know, they're working as a team. Those are the best games, and I've had those games on my server when I have told people, guys, I'm going to be holding events, please come, we're going to be playing for the objective hard, and you get those players come in, and I had people telling me they're the best games they played in 6 months on the game. And the thing is that, you know, I really try in my videos and my channel to push this concept that, you know, that is what makes a good game. It's not about racking up bullshit kill streaks. It's not about trolling other people. It's about quality gameplay. It's about respecting other players. It's about having, you know, a sense of sportsmanship and playing the game, you know, playing the way the game should be played, in my opinion. And that, you know, that gives quality, and that's what people feed back. I've had so many people feedback that those are the best games, and you don't just get people saying thanks for a good game or that was an amazing game. People come saying thank you, that was brilliant gameplay. I haven't had any gameplay like that in 6 months, and that I think is what people should really strive to move forward towards. Okay, so I'm going to wrap up with this one now. I want to say thanks to everyone. I'm going to say thanks to Colin, and thanks to Levelcap. This has been the first of, I hope, some Battlefield Roundtable discussions. I think that's going to be the name of the series.
Thank you very much, Luetin, for setting this up. It's been a great conversation. I had a fantastic time. Hope we do it again soon.
Yeah, I as well had a good time talking with you guys, and I thought there was a lot of really good points brought up. So this is Levelcap signing off.
Okay, guys, thanks so much, and hope to see everyone for the next one very soon.